Yo guys, this is going to be a tricky video to make. It's a tricky, complicated topic to talk about. We are here to talk about Inter under Oaktree, what we can expect in the near future, what our situation looks like now, finances, and what to, as I said, expect in the near future by looking at the current information that we have on hand. This is a video if you are interested in these types of things. If you're not interested in this, there is going to be some Excel sheets. There's going to be financial figures talked about. There's going to be realistic talk. There's no dreaming and selling you guys dreams. If you're not interested into this, you're welcome to click off the video. But if you want to be a little bit more informed into why Oaktree and the board may make some decisions in the near future, I hope this is the video for it. It's really hard to structure this video. You might see me going left, right, and center, and go off topic or stay on topic, but kind of off topic. So apologies if I do that, but it's just a difficult topic to talk about. But before we do that, if you've survived this 1 minute 20, means you are interested in this. So leave a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel if you are new and interested in more informed decision making around Inter. Now, why am I making this video? I mean, I kind of make similar videos to this every summer. This summer I didn't do it. We do this, people make fun of me on the channel, the Excel sheet, the Uncle Sharma Excel sheet. It didn't come out this summer. I did update it personally just to keep a track of a few things, and I have updated it once again for this video. But the main reason I'm making this video is because a few days ago, the report came out, as you can see here, translated from Sempre Inter, that Oaktree are looking to change Inter's transfer policy to reduce Inter's ballooning wage bill with our Presidente. And you must be, I saw there was a bit of confusion or some disappointment in the fan base after this news came out from Gazzetta via FC Inter News. I'm going to read a few excerpts from this. Marotta has proved well versed in luring top-class free agents to the Meazza during his trophy-laden reign. We know the Marotta method, and it has been successful. Whatever Primavera and youth merchants may like to say, it has been very successful. Doing so, he has saved the club hundreds of millions in transfer fees. Very true. More recently, however, high-profile contracts have started taking their toll. Despite refusing to splash out figures on new signings, Marotta reward Inter players with substantial deals, and we'll see what they mean by that. Such policy has paid dividends, with the Nerazzurri winning multiple domestic titles. Indeed, the crown achievement came last season with the 20th Scudetto. Therefore, no one can deny Marotta's transfer strategies have paid off. Despite all the positives, Inter spend more on player salaries than any club in Serie A. And remember, this was my prediction in the summer. I said that as things are going, we are going to be the highest spenders above Juve. Juve have always been the highest spenders. We've overtaken them now. Oaktree managers are eager to cut expenses. That's hardly surprising considering it's Inter top of the wage charts. Juventus plays second, Milan third, Napoli fourth, Atalanta fifth. Okay, so this is the news that spurred this video. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the figures and the facts. And there it is, the famous Uncle Sharma Excel spreadsheet. Boo! It is here. It will haunt you in your nightmares. But as you can see, I've got multiple tabs here at the bottom because this is what I used to do in past summers. Look, you can even see some rats in here like Skriniar and things. We used to play around with this to see where we could do, realistic transfers and things that we can do. Oh, look, we've also talked about the potential renewals of players that actually have happened as well. So you can see back then, this is from the 22-23 season, our salary was around 128 million. And now, this season, it has ballooned to 140 million. Compared to last season, that's up by 20%. And why did the news about Oaktree wanted to cut this come out? Because of this. As you can see, when we compare it to other teams in the league, guys, we are quite considerably higher. Juve, let's start with Juve because they're the ones that we're closest to in the right now, and they were the ones competing for us at the top spot. They cut their wages because they got a lot younger players. They got rid of the Szczesnys, Nucci, Chiellinis, Alexandro, all these kind of inflated salaries from older players that are gone off the books now. They've got younger players now. the likes of Yildiz, Conceição, etc., guys that cost money, Coop miners. This is why you'll see the squad cost is still the highest in Italy, because that is including amortization. So when you buy a player, transfer fee, spread it over the length of the contract. So, a 10 million player, 5-year contract, 10 divided by 5, 2 million per year. That's his amortization cost. So you saw that Juve spent, I think, over 100 million this past summer. So salaries might be down, but they've got other costs still there. But we, thanks to our free transfer strategy, we might not have much amortization costs, but our salaries are even higher this year because of all these renewals that we gave to Lautaro, Barella, Dumfries incoming, Bisek, Aslani, etc., with Taremi, Zielinski, and the more expensive free transfers coming in. My thinking, I reckon, and we'll see in the sheet afterwards, Oaktree probably want to get this down by 5-10% at least, get down to around 130 million, 125 million. That's probably my guess, because you can see we're considerably higher. Salaries are a ongoing recurring cost that every month, in terms of cash flow. I don't know how players are paid in Italy, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, but let's just assume it's monthly. That's millions and millions of euros coming out straight cash flow. And the amortization, those are more on the books, at the end of the year. And here you see, so mine figures here are from Calcio e Finanza. But here Gazzetta have pretty similar figures, and you can see Inter trumping everyone by a big margin. Now you're thinking, of course, Inter are the best team in Italy. Why should we not be paying our players the most? Why is this an issue? No, it's not. That's not my issue being number one. There's no issue with that. The problem is the gap in between the others. Oaktree will look at this and see from the next team, you almost got a 30 million gap in there. And the problem is also Inter are still losing money every year. Inter, that's another one of the main contexts around this video, and Oaktree, is the fact that Inter are a badly run business, not a badly run football club. We are a very well run football club, but we are a badly run business. Well, actually, we were, especially up until COVID and post-COVID, but then last couple of years, things have improved a lot. And actually this year, we may have even broke even. If you look at Inter's financial performance over the last few years, financial years, this is compared to Milan, who have been making profit now for 2 years in a row. This year, Inter on the minus 36. Look at the improvement that we made since COVID season. All these minus 100 million plus figures are embarrassing, even minus 85. That is an awfully run business. That means your costs are way too high compared to what you bring in. This year, if it wasn't for the bond servicing costs that we have, the bond that we have on over our heads, the 400 million bond that we pay at interest every year, which is around 35 million, if I'm correct in saying. I think we already would have broke even, or maybe even made a profit this financial year. So that's always going to drag us back. But we have made a change since COVID, since Oaktree already. And once again, we got to remember, Oaktree have been inside Inter already for a few years, since Steven Zhang took that loan out from Oaktree. Oaktree already were inside Inter's account and in the Inter board in the last few years. A lot of the decision making that we attributed to Steven Zhang, when we were saying we're waiting for the green light from China, because we're waiting for the green light from Steven Zhang. The green light wasn't from Steven Zhang. That guy was ready to give the green light to anything. The green light was from Oaktree saying, brother, you just took out a loan with us. This is not your money to play with. So since that turnaround in the way the business has been run, Inter are back on track. We're almost there. What Oaktree wants to do is get us over the line to becoming at least break even or profit making club, like Lazio have done, Napoli have been doing, and now, as you saw, Milan have been doing. It's not impossible. Football in general is not a good profit making business for sure, especially Italian Serie A football. But as Napoli, Milan, and Lazio show, it is possible. But the key is it possible to do it and still be a winning club? That's where the issue lies. That's where the doubt lies. And this is where my doubts also come in. because everything that's coming out now about Oaktree, what they want to do, when you look at it as a fan, don't think about the business, you think Milan. Milan are owned by an investment fund, just like Oaktree, just like they were under Elliott before. And you saw a lot of their decision making was around buying young players, under 25, maximum transfer fees 20-25 million, resale values, yes, all quite interesting. They won even the Scudetto. They probably didn't even mean to, but they won it. But is that the type of project that you want? Probably not. And the other issue is why they want to reduce costs or try to control the cost more than try to increase the revenue, is that Inter and Italian clubs, but Inter specifically, we're kind of hitting a ceiling when it comes to revenue. You can see Inter and Milan both had a similar kind of growth. Milan a quicker growth, and now they're actually just slightly higher than us in terms of straight just revenue. But Inter has been more consistent over the last few years. But this is the 400 million mark, is pretty much the ceiling of what a Serie A club can earn realistically. Because are the TV rights getting any higher? Probably not. They might even actually be decreasing. That's how bad it is. Serie A has been selling the rights, not just internationally. We know that Serie A has been awful at being able to get money from international TV deals. But now even in Italy, the deal with DAZN, the deal with Sky Sport, these are rumored to be decreasing, or just saying the same means decreasing really because of inflation for the next renewal term. So there's no extra money coming from that side. Merchandising, Inter did very well last year thanks to the Scudetto win, the Scudetto merch, even the year before, getting to the Champions League final, getting new deals coming in from Paramount for that final, and then getting past that crypto scam sponsor that we had this year, getting bets and more sponsors. That's something that's been increased, but again, there's a certain ceiling to that, and we might be hitting that now. The Nike deal Inter just renewed, that's up until, that's like some death row contract that we sign until 2032 or something, so that's not increasing anytime soon. So there's a ceiling that, and you guys all know what can break the ceiling, which is what Juve have been able to do, which is why Juve can get closer there. Juve's revenue is closer to 500, is more near 450, but can potentially be near closer to 500 because owning your own stadium. You retain all the money from tickets, you retain all the money made from concerts, events, hospitality, VIP events, whatever is inside the stadium or around the stadium, parking, all that shenanigans, which Inter and of course Milan as well can't do. Might change, and not anytime soon, but that might change. But so in terms of revenue, this is pretty much the maximum Inter can do. Maybe a few more million, sponsorships here and there might increase, some bonuses, but that's pretty much it. Even if you keep getting to Champions League finals, you saw we got to the Champions League final in the previous season, it didn't really make that much difference. So that's why footballers' salaries keep going up. This is not the Premier League, and they also took away the growth decree. The growth decree is gone now. Those tax benefits that players and clubs could claim on foreign player salaries, that's gone now, unless that player was already here when the growth decree was active. So in a way, I agree. I think Inter are currently a little bit overstretched when it comes to salaries and squad costs. Inter definitely overstretched themselves pre-COVID, and that kind of snowballed into post-COVID as well, when they already started to make changes. But in terms of Oaktree working with the Marotta strategy, they already have, since they've come in this past summer, they allowed Marotta, Ausilio to continue with their way of working. So, Gazzetta here kind of exaggerates the point. Inzaghi, Bisek, the renewals, Oaktree have given into 183 for the future. In a way it's true, but that's, they're taking into account the future value of all the contract, the total value. So, the renewal of Inzaghi, Lautaro, 9 million plus bonuses, Barella, Aslani, Bisek, both doubling their wages, Dumfries, when you add up all their values of their contracts, that, it's 183 million. So you could, and they've also, aside from that, come in, they've covered the losses. They've already injected capital into the club to cover those losses. So in terms of, coming in, doing what they need to do, Oaktree have done that. The question is, will they let Marotta do his thing moving forward. That's where I think we are going to see some changes. And as I said, I think they're going to put in some targets. The newspapers haven't spoken about this yet. So this is just my talk. And I mean, this is very basics. If they're going to talk about reduction, it's going to be, realistic targets, hopefully nothing more than 10%. But, we talked about this even, if we go back to our squad costs from, 2 seasons ago, you can see they were asked back then already under Zhang to reduce their squad cost, and they did do that. It's just that last year it ballooned up again. But again, once you do have good years in Champions League, etc., it does allow you to have that kind of positive effect as well. So these things also can change. If we once again go to the final of the Champions League and do all that kind of stuff, extra revenue, things might change. But realistically, Oaktree wants to get the costs under control. From the current salaries, so the current estimated salary, total gross salary is 142 million, or let's say 143, round it up. So a 5% reduction on that will be around, again, don't get too, don't be sticklers for exact figures. We're just kind of rounding up numbers here. Figures might change by a few million here and there. So 5% less than 142, 135, or if they want a 10% reduction to get to 127 million. And then squad costs going from 200 will mean either getting to 190 to 180. The good thing is to help Marotta, Ausilio this coming summer is that guys, scrubs like Correa, Arnautovic are already leaving. These guys seems like 100% because their contract is expiring, will be leaving. De Vrij, the reports are saying, again, his contract is expiring as well, but we saw that in previous years they were happy to just kind of give him a little renewal. But I'll put him here for now. And then, yes, that guy still is on our books. Andre Radu costs us 3.4 million every year. Salary plus his amortization is crazy, right? So in total, this is just from the scrubs. No, not actually. I don't want to include De Vrij in the scrubs. This is De Vrij plus the scrubs leaving gives Inter 33.2, or let's say 33 million in savings. In Oaktree, they're not going to say to Marotta and Ausilio, okay, you saved 33 million, now you can spend 40 million on squad costs. They will say, I mean, really, they might even say, less than that. So you save 33 million, but we don't want the replacements for you guys to be costing 33 million. But let's just say that they do. That gives Inter a good space to play with. And why am I talking about this? Because this is the way you think about in terms of squad building. It's not just about transfer. So this past summer, the transfer window, everyone was disappointed with it. And I think it's a 6 out of 10 transfer window because we weren't really able to push the squad forward. But if I talk about it in terms of what Marotta, Ausilio had to do with zero budget, it's a really good transfer window. But in terms of what footballing needs we had, and the fact that Correa and Arnautovic stayed at the team, takes it to just a 6 out of 10. But why? It's not just because Oaktree are cheapskates that we weren't able to buy, but Inter, we've seen it in previous season when we were able to sell the likes of Onana, Lukaku, Hakimi. That's when we were able to spend, when we get rid of not just the cost of their wages, but actually get money or capital gains from some of these guys. Brozovic, massive cost on the squad. Ghost, that's the way Inter have been able to spend. But we might once we get to that stage like Milan have. Milan now, last season they had to sell Tonali and then they were able, but now they're able to spend money without having to sell first because they break even or make profit. But again, we're not talking about Inter will be able to buy Erling Haaland and Mbappe. We're talking about they can buy players before having to sell or even without having to sell, but we're talking about 15, 20 million players. And so now I just wanted to show you possible realistic avenues of what could happen this summer. So with these 33 million savings that Inter will make from the Vrij and Scrubs leaving, let's say realistically, Radu is not a squad player anyway. He's fourth goalkeeper, a useless part of the squad. So that will go down to 0. And realistically, Correa is also now become what is the fifth striker. You could say Arnautovic is the fifth striker. That is also probably not a necessary cost to have. You can probably say you're going to have 4 strikers plus a Primavera player, especially with Oaktree's new wishes of including more younger players. So realistically, you could say that from these 4 players leaving, 2 of them are going to have to be replaced. So we're going to have 1 striker to replace Cornea Arnautovic and 1 long-term central centre-back to replace De Vrij and then eventually Cherby. So I've just put in 2 random, well, not so it's random, but these guys that we've been linked with recently or not so recently, but don't focus too much on the name. Focus more on the cost and the concept. You can replace the names with whoever you guys want. Don't focus on the name. But because Jonathan David has been heavily linked to us recently, and we know Marotta likes his free transfer, this is a free transfer that fits into the Oaktree rumored strategy of players under 25. Jonathan David at the moment is 24. He is a free agent, but he's rumored. So I've put in even the rumors. It probably won't be as much. His agent fee, 10 million, net salary 5 on a 4-year contract. That is a 12 million euro cost on the books. Similar to a Marcus Thuram, as you saw. Could be less if it's a 5-year contract. And then for the De Vrij replacement, Scalvini. Maybe now, Atalanta in the past were rumored to be asking 40, 50 million now after the ACL. Again, I'm not saying I want Scalvini. I was actually never too convinced by Scalvini. Even less so now. After the ACL, I want to see him. But let's just say a Scalvini, because you think Inter cannot afford a 30 million player. But actually, if things do work out in terms of our, if once again we're on track to make even a break even next year, Inter can afford a 30 million centre back as long as it's more about the salary. When you sign, you got to look at the total package, the cost, length of contract, net salary. So that's 6 million gross salary. That's 12 million yearly cost on the book. So those 2 players to replace the Scrubs and De Vrij, that's 24 million. And then you could get, let's say you still want a 5th striker. If you want to get like a younger guy, throwing out random figures, 10 million. And he's gone like a 1 million salary, 10 divided by 5, 2, you'll still be underneath the 30 million mark squad cost for those 3. Or you could say, we want to get Aslani out of here, as a lot of you have been saying. How much would Ricci cost? Again, at the moment, if he doesn't renew, he's on an expiring contract next season. So you would go into 1 year left in the summer if he doesn't renew. Let's say even Cairo with his unrealistic demands, you could put it up to 40, but let's put 30 there. 2.5 million salary, 5-year contract. You're talking about 11 million euro cost. So that's even realistic that's still within the 33 millions that we get from losing those Scrubs. And now I've added in those guys. You can see Scalvini's in here with his 6 million gross wages and costs. And I've added Jonathan David in here, and I've even put in like the young striker. The problem is, with those targets, salaries wise, we are still kind of way off the reduction, which is why, if Jonathan David happens, we might only see that happen if we get that Marcus Thuram offer. If we get that Marcus Thuram offer, there's release clause, which is rumored to be around 85 million, then that really gives us money to overhaul the whole squad. So you get in. This is, again, I'm not saying this is what I want to happen, but that's how Inter's transfer markets have been working, and the Marotta especially, is when we managed to get in money from selling Lukaku, Hakimi. Actually, that year, we didn't even manage to spend that much because we're such big trouble. But Onana, Brozovic, those massive costs and big capital gains helped us overhaul the squad to win the Scudetto. If you're not going to sell players and you keep giving these big salaries, then Oaktree are going to have to make cuts somewhere, and that's the issue. We give Lautaro the massive renewal here. You can see Lautaro here, the massive renewal we gave him. It didn't really change too much actually in amortization squad cost, but in terms of salary, he is way higher than everyone else. And then, if Lautaro performs like this, and, let's say Hakan continues performing well, or Barella or Bastoni perform well, they're going to be like, Di Marco is going to want a new renewal. They're going to be like, if Lautaro's earning that much, it just raises that ceiling. So that's the kind of catch 50-50 situation Inter have got themselves in with that massive Lautaro renewal. But it's also important to keep this core of players of the Lautaro, Barella, Bastonis, Di Marco, this spine of your team that you're going to build your team around for the next 3, 4, 5 years, hopefully. Sometimes you might have to overpay to have that experience and know-how in the team. But then the cuts are going to have to come from somewhere, whether it's Lautaro, Hakan, Thuram, these big players where we can make big capital gains on and save big on wages. So this summer, kind of wrap up the video, I do have actually a positive outlook this summer because I think because of the costs leaving, we are going to see some interesting transfer window up ahead. But it's also going to come with Oaktree telling Marotta and Ozilio to try and reduce the salaries, which again, I do agree with to a certain extent, but I hope it's definitely not to an extent of Milan, where Milan, we see they cannot compete with Inter. Marcus Thuram is a perfect example. They could not compete with us in terms of the agent fees we're willing to pay, the salary, and in general, even Taremi in the previous years, they weren't able to get him over the line because of things like that. So I hope that doesn't stop us. And with Marotta the other day, the other thing that gives me confidence is Marotta staying at the helm. In an interview, Marotta said, when you're at Inter, we are Inter, the aim is to win. We want to buy the best players, have the best players, and continue winning. That's the aim at Inter, whether it's Scudetto, Champions League. When you're Inter, you got to compete for both. And that's what I like to hear. That's what I want to see. Milan, they also say things like that, but clearly they're not backing things up. As long as Marotta stays at the helm, and he is at the helm until 2027, I think his contract runs until, and he is the president now. So he has a little bit extra power in how things are done as well. I hope Oaktree do try to, reduce some costs here and there, but they won't try to be drastic and not, make Marotta unhappy, Inzaghi unhappy, because he, for this project to remain successful, I think, is to keep Marotta, Ozilio, Inzaghi, this team, this core of guys that have managed Inter through this financial difficulty period. Because it doesn't mean that, spending more means winning more. We've seen that, those Premier League teams like Chelsea, Man United, they're the perfect example. It doesn't mean that spending a lot of money means winning, but at some point, it doesn't mean that every single year you sell your big guy and the replacement's going to be a hit. Milan tried to do it the algorithm way, Inter work in a different way, and at the moment the Inter way has proven to be more successful, and hope Oaktree don't change that. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. This is a really long one. Hopefully I wasn't veering off topic too much. It's a really difficult video for me to make, quite a lot of effort, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. And let me know in comments down below, what do you make of it? What do you think of the outlook under Oaktree? Yeah, your comments might have to be also long as this video as well, but I will read every single one as always. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Maybe I've missed something. Yeah, let me know. Let's try to have a conversation, about things that I didn't talk about, some financial outlooks that I may have missed, and facts and figures that you guys may have to provide. Yeah, interesting times up ahead. Daddy Zhang is long gone. Let's see what these Oaktree guys are cooking. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Ciao ragazzi, always Oaktree, Zhang, Moratti, whoever it is, always Forza Inter.